Welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to yet another edition of the dceu Daily. Remember, you can tag me and follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And on today's dceu Daily, an actor turned activist, is still in a big aggressive civil war against a corporate entity that is called Warner Media. Yes, we're talking about Ray Fisher. And Zack Snyder is still single-handedly successfully promoting Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut more successfully than this huge entity that is Warner Media can promote any movie, because he has us behind him, his fans. So yes, welcome to the latest edition of the dceu Daily. I was brought up to give people the bad news first and then get to the positive. So unfortunately, Ray Fisher, you are the bad news. You are the negative, I'm afraid. I will be very, very kind of fair and balanced on my view on the latest chapter in this engrossing saga between Ray Fisher and Warner Media and Warner Brothers Pictures and a few of the people who are still there. It is engrossing, but I think we are now in a position where it's a he says, she says, and we're just not progressing from that, are we? Anyway, this is all... Look, as we were all waiting for the IGN Fan Fest, which I loved. By the way, Terry Schwartz, I've been a big fan of Terry Schwartz over at IGN, who actually apologised months ago for believing there was no Snyder Cut when it was revealed there was one. So she's a great gal. She's a great geek. She loves games. She loves Star Wars. She loves DC. She loves Marvel. She's great. And she interviewed Zack via Zoom for the IGN Fan Fest, and it was great. And she was so shocked by the positivity she got from us, the Snyderverse fandom, because we are known, our reputation, unfortunately, because of a few people, a few idiots that crossed the line, we are known as a toxic fandom, but we're not. All we've ever wanted to do is right or wrong. That's it. Now, unfortunately, some of us sometimes go deep at people who don't agree with us. And maybe at times, the IGN crew have had that as well. So it was really great, I think, for her and IGN to see that we're not the toxic fan base that Access Media and Warner Brothers Pictures would like you all to believe. So that was great. So we're going to be all in on that fan fest. And bloody hell, Zack, that Origin of the Mother Boxes sequence that you released was amazing. I've downloaded it. I can't stop watching it. I've now created a Snyderverse trailer album. So I've got all the Zack Snyder's Justice League trailer, Snyder Cut. Yeah, I've got all those, right? And then I've decided to put one Man of Steel trailer and a couple of BVS ones on there. It's really cool. So amazing. I'm so hyped for what's to come. But before we can get to that, let's talk about Ray Fisher. Wow. Because it all started with Ray. Interestingly, on the day they announced the Snyder Cut was happening over on HBO Max, Ray did, was he on, I can't remember what he was. He was on some streaming thing, wasn't he? And he started crying and saying that Deb and Zack were like his family and he was so happy for them, and that was cool. So I thought, great young actor, lots of respect for Zack Snyder, and he sees them as family. Great. And then when he came out and said he lied about liking Joss Whedon at San Diego Comic-Con and all of that, that was cool as well, because we kind of knew that anyway, because him and Jason Momoa would be standing in the corner with fans telling them certain things. We know this, right? We know they were fighting for the Snyder Cut quietly. They're great lads. And I was all for his fight to get an impartial investigation for what happened on the Justice League set. Again, I backed him 100%. It was only really when he went after Walter Hamada I started to have doubts about him. And then when he did that Forbes interview with Shiraz Faruqi, and Shiraz Faruqi got the sack for that, I wasn't very happy with Ray, with the part he played in that. Now, he waved his fists about saying, "Fools, I want answers, I think I'm entitled." He's not fighting for Shiraz Faruqi anymore, but he's still fighting his own fight for and with his own people. And this is the atmosphere Ray Fisher's activism is taking us to. And so it all started yesterday, as I said, as we're looking forward to IGN Fan Fest. I knew he would use that day for his activism. So this is what he said. Do you remember that time Walter Hamada and WB Pictures tried to destroy a black man's credibility and publicly delegitimize a very serious investigation with lies in the press? But hey, Black Superman. So I quote tweeted this and said, Ray, how can I remember something I didn't witness? I wasn't there, Ray, with your conversations with Walter Hamada. So how can I remember this? Now, this is where it becomes very problematic from the beginning, because he says he tried to destroy a black man's credibility. But the thing is, Ray, even if they did try and destroy your credibility, they didn't try and destroy it because you're a black man. Here's the problem. You know that, Ray. You know this is not about racism, but you are making it about racism because you are an activist and you're using the Snyderverse fandom and Zack Snyder to accomplish this. And I will not facilitate what you are attempting to do. Anyway, it's time to read the articles because something really big came out because Warner Media and the judge, the impartial judge who was in charge of this investigation had a lot to say. By the way, I have 45 minutes to complete this video before I have to put my chicken on for our Sunday roast. Let's see if I can accomplish everything. Justice League investigator says Walter Hamada did not interfere as Warner Media defends exec from Ray Fisher allegations by Elise Schaffer from Variety. Warner Media has broken its silence over Ray Fisher's recent tweets about the investigation into alleged misconduct on the set of Justice League. In the most recent tweet posted Saturday morning, Fisher claimed that DC Films president Walter Hamada tried to delegitimize the investigation and that Warner Brothers lied to the press about it. Do you remember the time Walter Hamada, yeah, we've been through all this, but we'll read it again, and WB Pictures tried to destroy a black man's credibility and publicly delegitimize a very serious investigation with lies in the press. Fisher wrote, adding, but hey, Black Superman, in reference to the news that Ta-Nehisi Coates is writing a new Superman film for Warner Brothers and DC. In response, Warner Media released a statement defending Hamada and upholding that the investigation was done in a fair way. Once again, there are false statements being made about our executives and our company surrounding the recent Justice League investigation, a spokesperson for Warner Media told Variety. As we have stated before, an extensive and thorough third-party investigation was conducted. Our executives, including Walter Hamada, fully cooperated. No evidence was found of any interference whatsoever, and Warner Brothers did not lie in the press. It's time to stop saying otherwise and move forward productively. And so basically Warner Media, who Ray kept on saying in the early days were our friends, were on our side in terms of the Snyderverse fandom, and Zack, these are the people. So as a company, not WB Pictures, not HBO Max, nobody else, it's the company who's came out and spoke against what Ray's been saying. That's very, very interesting, and this has begun to happen. So why have they responded to this but not to other things? Because he made a strong worded statement, trying to kind of the undertones of racism, trying to destroy a black man, blah, 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 which isn't true, by the way. And so sometimes you've got to look at things, even if you're on Ray's side, you've got to look at things from the outside looking in. Catherine B. Forrest, a former federal judge, I want you to remember that, a former federal judge and current investigator into the alleged misconduct on the Justice League set, also released a statement affirming Hamada's innocence. I am disappointed by the continued public statements made suggesting that Walter Hamada in any way interfered with the Justice League investigation. He did not, Forrest said. I interviewed him extensively on more than one occasion and specifically interviewed him concerning his very limited interaction with Mr. Fisher. I found Mr. Hamada credible and forthcoming. I concluded that he did nothing that impeded or interfered with the investigation. To the contrary, the information he provided was useful and advanced the investigation. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Fisher then responded to Warner Media's statement saying that he has stated that Hamada attempted to interfere in the investigation, not that he did, and calling Forrest's statement purposely misleading and desperate. As I've said from the start, Walter Hamada attempted to interfere with the JO investigation. He was unsuccessful in doing so because I did not allow him to. Fisher wrote on Twitter, having the investigator make a statement claiming there was no interference is purposely misleading and desperate. Now, let's stop there before we carry on reading. Tomatoes. They say he didn't interfere. Ray says he tried to interfere. How? What did he do? Are you still going on about the thing where allegedly Walter said, oh, we want you to throw Joss and Berg under the bus but leave Jeff Johns alone? Are you talking about that? Because you publicly destabilised that. If that's what happened, I have no doubt that, listen, this is the problem with all of this, right? Actually, I'm going to discuss it more when we finish. Fisher has often used the word attempt in reference to Hamada and the Justice League investigation in a tweet on February the 13th. Fisher wrote that WB Pictures chose to remove his role from the film, rather than address Walter Hamada's attempt to interfere with the Justice League investigation. But he did say on Twitter that he wouldn't work under any production that Walter Hamada led. So they didn't get rid of his role. He got rid of his own role because he said he wouldn't work for the man, right? While he found his misconduct amusing, it only served to intensify my performance anxiety, disempower me and alienate me from my peers, she added. The disturbing incident triggered chronic physical condition. What's this about? This is about Joss Whedon, forget that. In another tweet regarding Hamada on Feb the 11th, Fisher said, had he succeeded in discouraging the Justice League investigation, we will not be here. He owes Charisma Carpenter and every other participant an apology. However, there have been a few instances where Fisher has not used the exact wording. For example, in a Jan 7th tweet regarding his removal from The Flash, Fisher wrote, if WB Pictures has made the decision to remove me from The Flash rather than address in any way Walter Hamada tampering with the JO investigation, that's on them. In a longer statement posted on Jan the 13th, Fisher wrote, bear in mind Walter Hamada interfering with the Justice League investigation is a completely separate issue than the investigation itself. Representatives of Fisher did not immediately respond to Variety's request for comment. Fisher's other tweets were in response to Nadria Tucker's, a former Superman and Lois writer and Justice League investigation participant who has detailed her experiences with racism while part of the show, particularly against executive producer Jeff Johns. I feel every bit of your pain, Nadria Tucker, Fisher tweeted on February the 24th. I bet you do. Among other things, I had to spend an inordinate amount of time explaining to Jeff why he was not the authority on how the existence of Cyborg's genitals would be perceived by the black community. He strongly disagreed. Cyborg's genitals. But as I said the other day, Jeff Johns didn't want you to get your genitals out, did he, Ray? Right? Are you talking about the cod piece? Are you talking about the cod piece here? If Jeff Johns and Joss Whedon, had to deal with this kind of nonsense on a daily basis, no wonder there were issues. Fisher expressed his support for Tucker again on February 25th, condemning the investigation. The fact that there's so many participants of Warner Media's Justice League investigation are having to out themselves in order for abusers of power to be held accountable is disgraceful, Fisher wrote. But the only one that's come out is Nadria Tucker. Who else? You're talking about the Buffy and Angel people. They came out because they wanted to. Because it's safe to come out now. So it's nothing to do with anything, Ray. But wow, it just goes on like this. In December, Warner Media announced they had concluded their investigation into misconduct on the set of Justice League and that remedial action had been taken. Fisher first alleged that misconduct had occurred in July when he claimed that Justice League director Joss Whedon had exhibited abusive behaviour on set, while producers Johns and Berg enabled him. An investigation was opened into the claims in August, but escalated in September when Warner Brothers released a statement that, among other things, Fisher falsely claimed that Hamada threw Whedon and Berg under the bus in a conversation with Fisher in an attempt to save face for Johns. A claim Fisher still stands by. Warner Brothers also claimed in September that Fisher declined to speak with the third-party investigator, which Fisher disputes. Forrest's statement today does not address this issue. Fisher has not publicly detailed his allegations about Whedon's behaviour on the set of Justice League, and Warner Media has not publicly revealed the findings of its investigation, nor any details of the remedial action the company says was taken once it concluded. Fisher's tweets and Warner Media's statement come as Zack Snyder's version of Justice League is set to premiere on March the 18th, a project that Fisher has been actively promoting on Twitter. Right, so that's pretty much it. Let's just see if there's any more on this. So that's it. He said, she said. So basically, he talks about, hey, Black Superman, after them trying to destabilise what a black man's been saying. But once he says the black man thing, right, it's like he's accusing them of racism. It's like Nadia Tucker, sitting in the writer's room of Superman and Lois before being sacked because she was creating a problem. She wanted more people of colour in the cast, right? Not once mentioning that she wanted Mexican actors in there or anyone, or Asian actors, just people of colour, people from her own community. That's not representation, that's bias. And it's not for you, Nadia, to accuse a whole company of being racist because they didn't want to do this. They cast how they want to cast. Who are you, a writer, to demand what a big studio and a television company do? And the show's been received really well because creatively it's brilliant. But Nadia Tucker wasn't interested in telling a great story. She was interested in representation and inclusion of people of colour, the most represented community in the entertainment industry. So her claims are bogus, simple as that. Now, the Ray Fisher thing is really, really complicated because there was obviously issues on the Justice League set. They did act improperly towards Zack Snyder. But hey, look, Zack Snyder's getting Justice League. It's going to be successful, and I think there will be more. And I do believe that, characters like Deathstroke and Batman and Joker, Zack can work on those projects. I don't think he's going to be allowed to work on Superman again, as I said yesterday. So the future's bright for Zack Snyder. So while he's while he's doing this brilliant attempt of self-promotion for Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, you've got Ray Fisher running around doing other things and being the activist that he is. But we don't know if he's ringing up Zack first and saying, is it okay if I kind of jump on the hype with my activism, or if he's just doing it without speaking to Zack? Because he very rarely mentions Zack now, and Zack very rarely mentions him. It wouldn't surprise me, either way, to be honest with you, that Zack's saying, yeah, let's do this. Help me get rid of them so we can have more Snyderverse. That wouldn't surprise me. But it also wouldn't surprise me if Zack has had enough of Ray Fisher and he is kind of making things messy for him with the studio because he's connected with him, because he cast him, and they're supposed to be good friends as well. So it's a very messy situation. What does Ray Fisher actually want? Well, we started off with a young man fighting for a good cause, then bringing race into it. And we saw his agenda really come out there. And I think people are starting to see through Ray Fisher, that his loyalty is not to Zack Snyder. He's not here for Zack. He's here for himself in his own community. On the face of it, and what he claims he wants, is for Geoff Johns and Walter Hamada to be removed from Warner Brothers altogether. Guess what, Ray? Warner Media do not want to remove Geoff Johns and Walter Hamada, and you can't make them. I'm sorry. Rightly or wrongly, they're sticking by these two people because they think they have something to offer them as a company. And they believe you have less to offer them, right, as an actor. And so they've taken their side. You will not get Geoff Johns removed and you will not get Walter Hamada removed. The only way you're going to get these people removed is if you present proper evidence that they've broken the law or they've been hideously abusive or racist to you. And from the outside looking in, because you're actually repeating yourself now, Ray, that isn't the case. Every time, last night I was so proud to be part of this Snyderverse fandom and to be here for Zack, and as a DC fan, he goes and ruins my mood again. This stuff is embarrassing for the fans. It's embarrassing for the studio, and it makes all of us look like twonks, and it's very disappointing. Ray Fisher isn't going anywhere. This is what's going to happen for the next few years. He's going to say something, the studio's going to say something. It's never going to be over. Well, it will, because his voice will diminish. Because once Justice League comes out, and then we're going to be really focusing on fighting for the restoration of the Snyderverse, and no one's really going to be interested what Ray Fisher has to say. I think in presenting what happened yesterday, I've been very balanced and unbiased, but I've also given my opinion that I'm getting sick to death of Ray Fisher's agenda. I'm sorry, I am. I like him. I think he's a really good actor. I'm looking forward to seeing his performance as Cyborg. Depresses me that we won't see him again because of what's going on. But that's life. We move on to the positive, and we talk about Zack Snyder at the IGN FanFest with Terry Schwartz. Terry was brilliantly positive. She did a great job. All the Snyderverse fandom, including RT Snyder Cut, was so glowing with respect and adulation for Terry. And I know that Terry was very proud and grateful. She's been trying to respond to every single tweet from the Snyderverse fandom. So she's great. Keep on putting in those positive comments. If you see anything negative on the IGN stream or anything, ignore it. Don't bring any negativity from our side there. That will be very damaging, because yesterday we proved that we are not the toxic fandom they say that we are. Anyway, there's lots of information from that FanFest. We've already discussed the glowing Motherbox Origin video. Absolutely stunning. Just brilliant. I couldn't stop watching it. But Zack had a lot to say. Justice League Snyder Cut ends in a cliffhanger, but WB doesn't want part 2. Zack Snyder confirms the Snyder Cut of Justice League ends with a massive cliffhanger, set up Justice League 2, but WB doesn't want a sequel by Cooper Hood. Zack Snyder reaffirms that Zack Snyder's Justice League has a cliffhanger ending, but he doesn't expect Justice League 2 to be made. The third chapter in Snyder's version of the DC Extended Universe is about to be released on HBO Max at long last. Fans have waited years to see what Snyder had planned for Justice League after realising the movie that hit theatres in 2017 was far from what he intended. Snyder left the project earlier that year following the death of his daughter, and his departure left fans with an unsatisfying middle chapter in his 5-film plan that wasn't going to be finished. Although the release of the Snyder Cut movement was successful in convincing Warner Media to let Snyder finish his version, the director spent years revealing new details about his plans for Justice League and beyond. This included teasing characters cut from the film, different arcs for the main characters, and set up for Justice League 2. Now that Zack Snyder's Justice League is nearing its release, many have wondered how the story will end. Several fans are even hoping that the potential success of the Snyder Cut will propel Warner Media to greenlight Justice League 2. During a virtual appearance at the IGN FanFest, Zack Snyder discussed what the future holds for his Justice League franchise and where the upcoming 4-hour movie leaves viewers. He confirmed that Zack Snyder's Justice League ends with a massive cliffhanger that sets up events for Justice League 2. However, Snyder also admits that he doesn't think a sequel will happen due to the lack of interest from the studios at this time. They're not going to have an interest now. Nobody has interest for a sequel most of the time before a film's even been seen. Sometimes it happens when they've got confidence. They're waiting for the results of this. And if the results are as good as I think they're going to be, there's going to be more. There's going to be so much more. Because if it's that big a success, forget what I said about J.J. Abrams being in control of Superman. Oh yes, Cavill's Superman will be back. And that's part of the fight as well, by the way. Now that Zack Snyder's Justice League is coming out, looking back at past comments and reveals from Snyder can clue fans in on what the cliffhanger ending could entail. This might even include the mind-blowing cameo that was recently teased in the press. Instead of potentially spoiling how Zack Snyder's Justice League ends, the idea of a cliffhanger ending could work in Snyder's favour potentially. The movie is guaranteed to generate a lot of press regardless of its quality, due to the build-up to its release and the often polarising work of Snyder. While the internet will surely debate the movie upon its release already, the cliffhanger ending could drum up a new demand for Snyder's DCEU to continue with Justice League 2 on HBO Max. It's almost like Zack ended it with a cliffhanger on purpose, isn't it? He knew what he was doing. He shot all his bullets out, as he said on that YouTube stream months ago, and he did it purposely for that reason. It's difficult to completely discount the possibility of Justice League 2 being made, considering what the Snyder Cut fans have managed to accomplish already, but it will be more of an uphill climb for a sequel to be made. There are logistical challenges like getting Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, Ray Fisher, and the rest of the cast back as well. That's not really that difficult. A much larger financial burden on HBO Max and Warner Media to make a completely new movie. Well, to be fair, if it's as successful as we think it's going to be, that's not going to be an issue, is it? Plus, DC Films is still attempting to branch away from the Snyderverse and has started to have some success in doing so. Embracing the multiverse and different release strategies could help. But it will take a dramatic change in the studio's thinking for Zack Snyder's Justice League to not be the end of Snyder's DC story. It's very interesting thoughts from the author of the article there. I don't really agree. Basically, the only boss we have to worry about is John Stankey. That's the person who greenlit Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. If he sees money and he sees diamonds, he'll want more. And if he says, I want more, he's going to get more. That's it. That's the end of it. Forget Jeff Johns. Forget Walter Hamada. Forget J.J. Abrams. John Stankey is the boss. Whatever he wants is going to happen here. We've got to keep on doing what we do. And we've got to make sure we watch the shit out of this movie and make sure others are doing that too. But I see success for Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, and I do see more. And as the author of the article said, it finishing in a cliffhanger basically is the best selling point of all. You want to see what happens next? Well, come on, support us. Make sure they can see that you want more. It's good when you get something like the IGN Fan Fest because you get lots of information to talk about. And it's exciting. Justice League 2's story was entirely set in the nightmare future. I mean, imagine that. That's just amazing. The whole film's set in the nightmare future, in a world that might be, but might not be. That's interesting because literally you can kill who you want. But if you fix what's wrong, then they'll be back in the modern era. Look, that would have been awesome. And let's fight for this. He's telling you this to fight for it. Don't you understand what's happening here? It's not, oh my God, we could have had this. We still can have this. Anyway, Justice League 2's story was entirely set in the nightmare future. Zack Snyder reveals that he initially planned for Justice League 2 to take place entirely during the post-apocalyptic nightmare event by Farid El Ghafi of Screenrant. Zack Snyder has revealed that his planned Justice League 2 would have taken place entirely in the nightmare future, where Batman and Superman's conflict reaches apocalyptic levels. Snyder has been a majorly influential creative force behind the DCEU, and middling reactions to Justice League upon release prompted calls for a director's cut, more in line with Snyder's vision of the film before he exited production. Following a lengthy fan campaign, Zack Snyder's Justice League is finally coming out on March the 18th on HBO Max and will be a whopping 4 hours long. The nightmare first appeared in Snyder's earlier film Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice as a nightmare experienced by Bruce Wayne that shadowed him a possible future. After the death of Lois Lane, Superman turns to darkness and allies himself with the villainous Darkseid. Superman becomes a tyrant, lording over a destroyed Earth, and with Wonder Woman, Aquaman and countless others dead. It's left to Batman and a few allies to try and undo the damage. Trailers for the Snyder Cut have revealed that a nightmare sequence will be featured in the film, though fans will have to wait to understand its significance. In an interview as part of the IGN Fan Fest 2021, Snyder discussed the Snyder Cut and its relationship to Justice League 2, hinting at his original plan for a 3-part series. Asked about Joker's new look, Snyder referenced the nightmare sequence as the biggest inspiration and mentioned that we would have been seeing a lot more of the new look in his planned sequel. Snyder was reticent to reveal very many details about the nightmare sequence in the film. Yeah, I bet. It's not a whole chapter, but it serves its purpose. Check out his full quotes below and at 25:45 and 34:30 in the video. Right. What inspired Joker look was the sort of post-apocalyptic world that I'm a huge fan of. And really the idea was that as the movies progress, the next movie, if there ever was one, and it doesn't seem like there will be, but if there was, it would exist primarily in that world, with them trying to set it right. The sequel doesn't overstay its welcome, but it definitely does what I needed it to do for the story and for us beyond that. I think it's a spoiler. The Nightmare movie that would have been Justice League 2 would likely have featured Jared Leto's Joker, so it makes sense that his new look was inspired by the crucial event. In the Nightmare timeline, a weary Joker and Batman become unlikely allies, working together to prevent the post-apocalyptic future from coming to pass. Joker employs his unique skills to steal a mother box that is crucial to Cyborg, and the Flash constructing a cosmic treadmill. The Flash then uses the treadmill to run back in time and warn Bruce Wayne to prevent their future by saving Lois Lane, so that Superman does not descend into villainy. Unfortunately, fans are only going to see precious little of Batman and Joker's post-apocalyptic tag team escapades, as Snyder confirms that Warner Bros. Has no interest in making a Justice League 2. At least not from him, with all the popular support and hype for the Snyder Cut that is soon to be released. Fortunes may change for the fans eager to see more of the heroes through Snyder's eyes. The journey to the Snyder Cut has been a rather unique event. If anyone can revive the planned sequel from the development graveyard, it's Zack Snyder and his fans, and we will. As I've said before, it's all about John Stanky. That's it. If he sees a win here, he's already seen a win with how, the tags are, the hashtags are trending on Twitter. The latest trailer. Guess how many people are who knows how many people are watching the Mother Box Origin video. It's probably trending. They know this is big, but they're not announcing anything yet. And as Zack said a few weeks ago, this is going to take time. This won't happen straight away. All we need to hear is an announcement that it's happening. And that will be absolutely fantastic. Then we can give Jason Kilar and Sarnoff and everybody else a rest in their ear holes, right? But until that happens, it's no can do. But I foresee a Justice League 2. What's great about a Justice League 2 is, like someone like Gal Gadot, who's really busy, I think she's dead in that timeline, right? So you don't have to use her if you're just focusing in that timeline until she's got more time to do the third movie, right? So it's kind of good because you've got, actually, it's okay. I was going to say, we can't have Ray Fisher because he's in the Nightmare Future, but we can because he likes Zack and he'll work for Zack. So that's cool. It'd be independent of Hamada and anybody else. So that'll be fine. So there's only a few members of the league there, and so you can get them involved. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it? So, but to have a Justice League 2 totally, mostly set in the Nightmare Future would be freaking awesome. And I would watch the hell out of it. So many DC fans would as well. So let's keep on fighting and stream the shit out of Zack Snyder's Justice League on March the 18th. Zack Snyder reveals Justice League's first 2 chapter titles. Zack Snyder has revealed the titles for the first 2 chapters of his much-anticipated director's cut of Justice League coming to HBO Max by Dusty Stowe of Screen Rant. Zack Snyder has revealed the titles for the first 2 chapters of his much-anticipated director's cut of Justice League, which will soon be arriving on HBO Max. Snyder is getting a second chance to tell his version of Justice League's story after the infamous failure of the retooled film in 2017, following the critical drubbing and box office underperformance of Snyder's Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice. Warner Bros. Began reconsidering Snyder's stark, intense version of the DC Universe. Snyder left the production of the film before production ended amid clashes with the studio and a family tragedy. Avengers director Joss Whedon was brought on to substantially trim down, rewrite and reshoot Justice League, which resulted in a mishmash of both directors' very distinctive styles that ultimately pleased no one. After an unprecedented fan campaign on social media to let Snyder finish the film on his own terms, HBO Max agreed to let the director do just that, coughing up the millions of dollars for Snyder to create his sprawling 4-hour cut of the film. And before we continue, actually, because I think this is important to understand how we got here, Toby Emmerich just wanted him to put out his rough cut of the Snyder cut, and Snyder told him to fuck off, of course. But it was John Stanky who came in, wading in with his size 9 and said, no, you're doing this properly and we're going to give you money. So John Stanky is the power here. Make no mistake, he is the CEO of AT&T, and he's very interested in Zack Snyder and his vision. Now, in an interview with IGN FanFest, Snyder has revealed the titles for the first 2 chapters of his Justice League epic. The first is titled Don't Count on It, Batman, and the second is titled The Age of Heroes. The first chapter is likely in reference to Batman's tall task of assembling the team at the outset of the movie, while The Age of Heroes has been referenced several times in the film's trailers and promotional material. It's interesting that the Justice League Snyder Cut will have chapters, as there were early rumours that the film would be split up into a more easily digestible 4-part miniseries. Breaking up the film into chapters is a smart move for anyone who feels like a 4-hour movie is a daunting task rather than a pop culture escape. Now, also what Zack mentioned, which is not in this article, is there's no plans at the moment to get Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut on hard copy. This is absolutely pathetic, ridiculous. What kind of business has no plans to release this? It's going to make you money. I want a fucking hard copy of this, not just on digital. So it's something else us in the fandom are going to have to fight for now. It's unclear what Snyder's Justice League will mean for the greater DC Extended Universe. Snyder's style has slowly leaked out of most of the recent DC films, with unqualified successes like Wonder Woman, Aquaman and Shazam going in a warmer, more earnest direction. There are also figures to be little overlap with the plot of the film going forward in the DCEU. Unless something very strange happens, this is almost certainly Zack Snyder's last go as a director of a big DC movie, and he's squeezing every bit of epic hype he possibly can out of it. No, no, no. This is not the last movie that Zack will do in the DC franchise. There's more. We will make sure of it. Yes, that mother box kind of origin video, trailer, whatever you want to call it, was very interesting. And as I've already said, I've watched it. But I'm not really a great cataloguer of detail. So thankfully, Cooper Hood of Screen Rant has got me covered. Justice League Mother Box Origins trailer is loaded with Easter eggs. Zack Snyder's Justice League receives a new Mother Box Origins trailer that is filled with Easter eggs, according to the DCEU director. A new trailer for Zack Snyder's Justice League recaps the origins of the DC heroes and is filled with Easter eggs. Nearly 4 years after walking away from Justice League, Zack Snyder is closing in on the release of his cut. He kicked off the DC Extended Universe with a Superman solo film called Man of Steel, one of the best superhero films ever made. Where are we? Yeah, Justice League closing off release, blah, 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 with a Superman solo film. But Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice set the stage for what else would come. The movie saw Superman, Batman and Wonder Woman team up, with Aquaman, Flash and Cyborg having cameos as well. These 6 heroes united in 2017's Justice League, but the movie was heavily reshot to change Snyder's story. The long-awaited debut of Zack Snyder's Justice League will come on HBO Max after fans spent years campaigning for Warner Brothers to release the Snyder Cut. This new R-rated 4-hour cut of Justice League restores Snyder's vision for these characters and sets up the rest of his plans for the DCEU. Although those are unlikely to see the light of day now, still Snyder had 5 movies planned that took the core Justice League members on big journeys. And the latest piece of marketing for Zack Snyder's Justice League highlights what already happened. During IGN's FanFest, Zack Snyder debuted a special look at Zack Snyder's Justice League. The new trailer is called The Mother Box Origins and stylishly shines a spotlight on each member of the Justice League. Each hero's story is told on one side of a mother box. Snyder mentioned during the panel that not only do the murals highlight what happened to them in the past, but there are also Easter eggs of what could come in the future. Amazing. Amazing. If you haven't seen this, and you must be dead inside if you haven't, right, and you're watching this video, you must be fucking interested, right? It's a piece of art. Everything this guy does just looks beautiful, and there's so much love and effort put into it. No wonder Christopher Nolan didn't want him to see Justice League, because if you're an artist, you don't want to see your art destroyed, right? Snyder teased the content of his trailer by releasing the Superman art the day before, but now fans have 5 more pieces to dissect. There are several obvious references to the DCEU's past, and that of the individual heroes. Martha Wayne's pearls are part of the Batman piece. Steve Trevor's watch is featured on Wonder Woman's. Now, this is interesting, isn't it? You know, he's mentioning Steve Trevor here. Could it be? Could it be? Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut is a thing where you could see anyone referenced or be in it. You know, this film is full of surprises we don't know about it yet. Have no doubt about that. And the gravestone for Nora Allen is included on flashes. As for the Easter eggs that tease what else Snyder had planned, fans will have to continue examining the contents of the new promo. As we enter the final stretch before Zack Snyder's Justice League is released, it will be interesting to see what other pieces of marketing arrive. There have already been a few big trailers that highlight how different the version of the movie is from the theatrical cut in 2017. Snyder has revealed quite a lot about the movie so far, but there are likely a few surprises still in store. You can bet your bottom dollar of that. For the movie itself, thankfully, it won't be too much longer before fans get to see Zack Snyder's Justice League and fully understand what he had planned. Yeah. So, if you haven't seen this, and as I say, you must have seen this video, it's so beautiful, and it uses the same similar technology to the Kryptonian history lesson that Jor-El shows to Superman in Man of Steel. It is beautiful. Study it. Watch it again and again. Watching this kind of art can't hurt you, even if you're not really interested in the subject matter. So IGN have done a brilliant article here cataloguing nearly everything that was revealed at the IGN FanFest between Terry Schwartz and Zack Snyder. We're going to go through all of this. So if I've read something up that I've already read, I'm sorry about that. I think it's important for me that my subscribers and anyone watching this video actually gets everything, all the information, the cool information that Zack gave us yesterday. Justice League Snyder Cut, 27 things we learned from Zack Snyder. Everything we learned from Zack Snyder himself about the Justice League. Zack Snyder is getting ready to release his version of Justice League on HBO Max, nicknamed by the fans as the Snyder Cut. The director's version of the 2017 DC team-up film is officially titled Zack Snyder's Justice League and will be released as a single 4-hour-long movie on the streaming service. At IGN FanFest 2021, the director sat down with us to go in depth on this new version of Justice League, answering questions from us and fans online. There were plenty of details from Snyder, ranging from information about new characters in the movie like Deathstroke and Jared Leto's Joker, as well as the chance to hear Snyder himself explain the backstory of his and Ben Affleck's version of Batman. That's something very beautiful, isn't it, as well, how Ben Affleck and Zack worked together on developing their version of Batman. Very rarely do you get an actor and a director working so closely together. Something else I've got to say, it filled my heart with joy seeing so many fans that I recognised from the movement on Twitter getting to ask their questions and proving that we are not toxic. And, you know, a 2-3% bunch of people who cross the line don't represent a community. Now, do they now? But the full FanFest interviews were chock full of other details about the film. Here are the biggest things we learned about Zack Snyder's Justice League from Zack Snyder himself, plus the exclusive clip he brought to the virtual event below. For fans waiting for the definitive version of Snyder's Justice League, the version being released on HBO Max will be the director's final word, as he tells IGN that Zack Snyder's Justice League is essentially the same movie he was finishing in 2017. When Snyder finished his cut of Justice League back in 2016, there was an even longer version that he and editor David Brenner cut down to hit 4 hours. We just did some tightening and put some screws to it, a little bit more to get it close to 4 hours, says Snyder. IGN has now confirmed the film's exact running time to be 4 hours and 2 minutes. That's just astronomical, isn't it? Brilliant. The version coming to HBO Max will be essentially the same as this original director's cut Snyder promises. When talking about the discussions with Warner Brothers to finally release the version of Justice League, Zack Snyder cites the fan support as being key to finally getting the Snyder Cut out. The director shared that fan support was the perfect storm that allowed Zack Snyder's Justice League to become reality. Zack Snyder's Justice League fills in a couple of impossible gaps that I thought were never going to see the light of day. When asked by Sarwar Jiwani on Twitter what content he's most excited for fans to see in his Justice League's in his Justice League, Snyder tells IGN that it's Cyborg's backstory. To me, Cyborg's backstory is such an important part of the movie, and his whole arc and journey is also important. There was just really cool stuff that we shot and that we created that I was really excited for fans to see. During the IGN Fan Fest, Zack Snyder shared a special sequence that he initially considered using for the opening credits. How cool would have that been? Of his Justice League coming to HBO Max, styled after a classic Roman tableau. The Mother Box origin sequence shows the various Justice League heroes immortalized as gods, but eagle-eyed viewers will have plenty of reasons to re-watch the opening, according to Snyder. There's a million Easter eggs in the Mother Box sequence, Snyder says. We just all started doodling, and it became this fine art piece its own that really talks about the Mother Boxes and the characters' origins. And I find it really beautiful and immersive. And yeah, it's super fun. Snyder says check out all the Easter eggs we found in the Mother Box Origins clip. Snyder says that while an episodic release was considered, it got complicated, possibly due to contractual difficulties, and ultimately fans would have been mad if they had to wait weeks for an episodic Justice League to be completed. The movie was always filmed as a single piece with a 6-chapter structure, which is how it will be released. Snyder also revealed 2 of the chapter titles from the Snyder Cut. Chapter 1 of the movie will be titled Don't Count on It, Batman, and Chapter 2 will be The Age of Heroes. We've already discussed that. Snyder says the newest films featuring members of the Justice League haven't altered his creative decisions for the character in the movie. This film was finished before those films were probably even shot, he explains, and so I stayed the course with my point of view. I think you can view my Snyderverse version of the DC superhero canon as its own thing. I love Patty and James, and what they've done with their movies are amazing, but at this point I was just like, this is its own thing, and it doesn't really owe anything to anything. That's an interesting statement, a strong statement. So I'm just going to do it exactly as I had always intended. Snyder explains some backstory for his version of Batman, saying that the 20 years of crime fighting under his utility belt probably led to the greyer morals than we're used to seeing from the character. And did you see that fan question referencing Tim Burton's Batman to killing many people more than Rambo or something like that? It was fucking hilarious. Bruce had a higher moral or a stronger moral compass when he first started crime fighting in Gotham 20 years ago. The director explains, but he's seen a lot of rough stuff happen over the years, and I think he's a bit jaded now. Obviously, the death of Robin and others, I think that he now has found himself in a dark place. But yeah, the whole point was that the death of Superman really shakes him out of that and puts him on a really cathartic path to form the Justice League and do his part. There were long conversations with the studio about whether to put Superman in black and silver suit, and the crew devised a way in which the suit could be easily colour corrected in post. I was a big advocate of the black suit, Snyder explained. They were not so much, and we would go back and forth. I said, okay, let me just at least do some tests to see if I could put him in a black suit and what it would look like. We devised a method in which we could easily turn the suit using the existing suit to the black and silver suit that you see in the movie. We knew exactly how to do it when we went into it, and as I say, it was always my intention to have him in that suit, and it's glorious he's in that. Snyder added last that seeing the suit in that style was a thrill. It was cool, yeah, I got to admit, because the first thing we did was a quick test to make sure that we had all our ducks in a row. Just seeing it, we all just sat back like, wow, are we really doing this? You are. Replying to a question from actor Harry Lennox, yeah, Harry obviously plays General Swanwick, a.k.a. Martian Manhunter, and he did have a question. Snyder explained, to a question from actor Harry Lennox, Snyder explained how Lennox, General Calvin Swanwick, and Martian Manhunter are connected in the new movie. After we learned the alien superhero would be revealed, in my mind, Swanwick and Martian Manhunter, it's like his alter ego. That's kind of the way I see it. If you notice the way he's manipulated both Lois and Clark to do their best, to be the best that they can be, because in this incarnation he wants humanity to do it themselves, and all this new hero in Superman, I think that's the kind of way I see it, that they have the same voice. So it's interesting that Zack says that he's been manipulating Clark and Lois to do good all along, which means Zack kind of knew this from the beginning. what he wanted to do with him. Snyder reiterated that Cyborg is the heart of his version of Justice League, saying everything turns on him, everything turns on the stakes that are presented to him, the events that befall him within the context of the film. However, he makes clear that despite the character being dropped from the upcoming Flash adaptation, he doesn't see this as a standalone moment of the character and says there's still a story left to tell. He's an amazing character, and it's great to see him really realise that on the movie. When you see it, you're going to realise that Cyborg is the tip of the iceberg, in my opinion. So who knows? So maybe Zack would be allowed to do a Ray Fisher standalone Cyborg movie, and I'm sure Ray would be willing to work along with Zack because there's no issues between them at this moment in time. Jared Leto's Joker makes an appearance in the film with a new look based on his appearance in the post-apocalyptic nightmare reality Batman Witnesses. It's a cameo that wasn't part of the original script, but one Snyder says is all about just trying to fulfill the promise of having the Joker in this universe and not having him and Batman come together. I always wanted him to be in the nightmare reality, and so it was a great opportunity when I talked to Jared and he was interested in doing it. I just felt like, okay, this feels like a thing I can't pass up. Snyder says that the movie ends on a massive cliffhanger which would potentially have connected to Snyder's plans for other Justice League movies. However, it sounds as though those plans may not make it past the idea stage. Well, it was meant to be 2 movies. This movie doesn't really encompass any of the additional movies other than little. It hints as you would at potential other world. I plant the seeds as I had wanted to of what would come in the latter films. That's in there. But as far as those stories, that would be to come if that happened, which it does not look like it would. So Zack keeps on repeating, it's unlikely it's going to happen. He keeps on saying it. Why? Because he's clever. Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke has already been confirmed, but Snyder explained how the traditional villain will fit in alongside the heroes. When we find him, clearly he and Batman have struck some sort of deal, and they have a bit of a partnership. There's a bigger enemy. I guess they're not locked in mortal combat. They're actually working together to try to figure out how to make this world work. So if this is the nightmare future, obviously they've been through Ben Affleck's The Batman. Maybe, yeah, they must have done, right? Where Deathstroke totally destroys Batman, fucks him over totally. We've learnt these details already. And so it's a very big thing for them to strike a partnership. So I wonder if any of Ben Affleck's The Batman script will be referenced in Zack Snyder's Justice League Nightmare Future. That will be interesting. Snyder hinted that Darkseid was intended to be the villain in a notional Justice League 2, but made clear he will make a major contribution to this film. Now, it's interesting, isn't it, with Darkseid, because I wasn't sure if he would just cameo in this film, but he says he plays a major he will make a major contribution to this film. That's really exciting. We weren't sure about that beforehand, were we? He's certainly the sequel bad guy, but he definitely is in full effect. He's running the show. He's there. I don't want to again spoil it, but yeah, he's definitely there. As for why he's there, Snyder says Darkseid has tons of human motivation, not just a quest to conquer. He operates on another plane, but certainly something happened to him in the past, and he's not happy about it. And it's really hurt him. It's shaped him, and he's looking to make it right. And so I think there's a lot of nuance in him. And Ray Porter does a great job of voicing him. Great to have Ray Porter have a shout out. He fought alongside us to get the Snyder Cut released. Top guy. As for Steppenwolf, the villain of Joss Whedon's cut of Justice League, Snyder explains that he and Darkseid have a very complicated relationship. I'm not going to give it away, but the dynamic between the two of them, something's happened in the past. There's a bunch of issues between them. And so, yeah, I think that all plays out. Yeah, the answer is there. Quite a complex relationship there. Now, this is interesting. Now, we've seen a lot of DC movies not made by Zack and not written by his people. We've seen MCU movies not reference bad guys. But to think that Steppenwolf and Darkseid have got this nuance in Zack Snyder's Justice League, as General Zod did in Man of Steel, as Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor did in BVS. That's brilliant that Zack does this with these villains and gives them a point of view. I always admire and I'm always grateful when creatives do this. Snyder was asked whether he would accept an offer to make Justice League 2, but was a little cagey about what his answer would be. That's very hypothetical. I think I would say I would believe it when I see it and happy to cross that bridge when I see it approaching. So you've heard it there, happy to cross that bridge. He would absolutely eat their hands off to get another attempt to finish his arc, and that's what we want as well. Keep fighting. There's long been discussion over who inhabited an empty Kryptonian pod in Man of Steel, and some wondered whether that mystery would be solved in the Snyder Cut. Sadly, the mystery will seemingly go on and may never be solved. It definitely is in Justice League, Snyder says of the pod. They pass it, they look at it, they don't talk about it, but yeah, that is an open question, and I would hope at some point to find out who was in there, what's going on. Again, fight for more to find out. We know it's Supergirl, but we want to see this version of Supergirl, right? IGN said release the open pod answer hashtag would surely spring up, to which Snyder replied, there already is, trust me, yeah, you're not getting that one, not for a while anyway, or ever. And if you were wondering where there even is a definitive answer, Snyder made clear he knows who was in there. And I think we all know who was in there, don't we? Got to be Supergirl. Got to be, isn't it? Could be a villain. Very exciting. Fight to find out. Zack Snyder, who is already releasing Justice League in a full-screen 1.33.1 aspect ratio, also revealed that there is a black and white version of the movie dubbed Justice is Great. Addition, Snyder says he's a huge advocate of and huge admirer of this version of the movie and that it is his favourite version of the movie. IGN has confirmed, this version will also be coming to HBO Max, although its exact release date remains to be announced. The Justice is Grey edition will be released on HBO Max at some point after the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League. But beyond that, Snyder hopes to one day tour the full 4-hour-long version of Justice League on IMAX once theatres are safe to reopen. And it will include beautiful intermission. Junkie XL's intermission, according to Snyder, it's an afternoon and into an evening experience. That's pretty cool. However, there are no plans for the IMAX experience at this time. Watch the full panel Q&A with Zack Snyder from IGN FanFest below. At a little over 4 hours long, Zack Snyder's Justice League is set to be the definitive version of the movie fans have been waiting for. The journey to get here was long, but you can read our timeline of how in 2017 Snyder left the project only for Joss Whedon to step in as a replacement. Along with using almost 2 hours of never-before-seen footage, Snyder shot a few minutes of extra scenes, including introducing Leto's Joker from the Suicide Squad into Justice League. Check out IGN's full interview with Zack Snyder and our full FanFest schedule for more panels and blah, blah, blah. Brilliant. Brilliant. Well done, IGN. Actually, this is the kind of article I was looking for all along. It covers everything. So I hope that through me reading all these articles, if you didn't get to check out the IGN FanFest interview with Zack Snyder and all the questions he answered, that I kind of showed you everything that you missed and you're really pumped and hyped for it. As I say, this is an opportunity of a lifetime to see Zack Snyder's Justice League the way it was meant to be. Then to see Justice is Grey. At some point we'll see that. And hopefully we'll get to own this film on hard copy, like Logan, both in colour and a noir black and white version as well. Because I think we have fought enough to be able to own it on physical media. Despite what the techie kids say, physical media is very important to geeks and nerds. And again, I'd like to thank Terry Schwartz for being a great moderator of this panel. You did yourself proud and you did IGN proud. So thank you very much. And finally today, this is my epilogue. I set up Big Mouth and doing the DCEU Daily, doing daily DC videos because I was fed up of watching and listening to podcasts and people skewing the narrative of what was going on within something that I really believe in. And I wanted to put my point of view across. I wanted to be balanced about things going on, but I also wanted to put my side of the story and what I believe is happening and what's happened. It's been a long journey for all of you who have been subscribed to me or subscribing to me from the very beginning. I think it was July 2019, I think. It's been a long journey. We were fighting for the Snyder Cut. I've spoken about BVS, MOS, You know I love Superman the movie. You know I love DC thoroughly. And it's been a long journey, but this is why I started this channel, so I could put my point of view across. It was never going to be the most successful kind of thing that I did. I was never going to become YouTube famous, but I believed it was important to put my point of view across because I'm passionately in love with storytelling and especially with DC and movies. And so this is why I formed this channel. So I hope you're enjoying what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you again tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. See you again soon.